All right. Good morning, Woods sixth graders. We are so excited to be finally Zooming with you. This is obviously very different as everything has been this school year. We always, Mr. Clark and I, enjoy getting to come visit with you. But let me back up from there because we have some new Woods Patriots this year that do not know Mr. Clark and I. My name is Miss Mankins. I'm one of the counselors at Chaffin. And as you also see on your large screen in your classroom, this is Mr. Clark. He is our other counselor at Chaffin. And unfortunately, Mr. Marshall was going to join us today, but he is doing his civic duty and serving for Crawford County on a jury. So he regrets to not be Zooming with you today, Wood students, and having an opportunity to participate in this scheduling event. So just to get started, we have those of you that are sitting in your classroom at Woods that are joining this Zoom. So Miss Berry and Miss James, Miss Fredheim, please feel free as questions arise to put those in the chat box. We welcome parents that are joining us. Our hope is that we have more virtual parents that participate as well, because the Woods students that are virtual, they are also completing the same scheduling process. So that's also part of why we're recording this. So classroom teachers, you have this recording. Mr. Clark will be sending this to you via email, so that way it can be shared with any of your students that are absent today, as well as this will be accessible to all of the Woods virtual students to assist them in making their choices for next year. So sixth graders, let's look at the sixth grade scheduling course form. It's called sixth grade course selection sheet. Now, Mr. Clark is going to share a screen while we go through your course form, and his screen is going to look different. What you see on your projector is what our virtual students see when they make their course form on the line. But it is the very same thing that you have on your white, on your course selection sheet. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say white there, but it's the very same thing, okay?
Yeah, now Ms. Mankins.
Okay,
just making sure. You can
Are
see
we
it?
good? Yes, yeah,
Okay.
we're there, it's shared. All right, so our goal today in meeting with you is to help you in making your selections for what classes you will take next year at Chaffin as a seventh grader. You are our first ever group of seventh graders in what will now be called Chaffin Middle School. And to get started, what Mr. Clark and I want to emphasize is that what is being offered at Chaffin Middle School is the same as what's also being offered at Ramsey, at Darby, and Kimmons, because as we know, for our entire school district, next year will bring much change. And so an important piece of this is what we're doing at each of the middle schools. Our buildings may look different, and who we have attend our school is different, and our teachers are different, but we are offering the very same classes. Another thing that I want to share with you before we start going through your course selection sheet is that every middle school will have the same bell schedule. So school will still begin at 8 o'clock and it will end at 3:15 each day. But what will be different is that you will be selecting 7 periods of classes. You will be selecting today, as we go through your course selection form, a total of 7 different full class periods. Now, school starts and ends at the same time. So if we only have 7 classes, how can that be? Well, because at all of the middle schools, we will be offering what's called advisory. So for 33 minutes each day, Monday through Friday, you as a 7th grader will participate in what we call Cornerstone Advisory. And that is a small block of time each day that you will have the opportunity to meet with the same teacher. And we will be doing a multitude of different events during advisory. Some of those will be doing grade checks. Some days during advisory, it will be like if you are needing assistance, like at Chaffin, we have after school tutoring. So instead of that being just an after school activity, it might be that you get pulled to get extra math help or reading or writing help. It may be that you're pulled to participate in an enrichment activity. We are discussing doing club days once or twice each month during our advisory. And then on Friday, just as you've had the opportunity to have guidance, classroom guidance with your counselors at Woods, we will be doing those activities on Fridays through Mr. Clark and I and through your advisory teachers. So there's a lot more about advisory that all of us, meaning even those of us presently at Chaffin, are going to be learning. And we're very excited about making that a very meaningful and fun, enjoyable time for you during your school day. And so there will be a lot more information for that when we have our open house activities before the school year begins. Okay. So just sharing that information with you. So now let's get started on your course selection sheet. Okay. If you are a student in the classroom, you will notice at the very top, it asks you to write your name. Students, this needs to be the name that you have listed in Schoology. That means that is the first and last name that you have on your report card. And we need you to write that as neatly as possible. And teachers, just for the sake of time and to allow enough opportunity, especially for parents that are Zooming and yourselves is like, we'll allow you in the classroom later to go back and make sure students have their name, first and last name written neatly. And students, if you are familiar and you have memorized your student ID number, it's the number you use when you log into your computer, we ask that you would please write that on your course form. If you're a virtual parent, this is where it's different for you. You're typing your student's last name, your student's first name, and here, Mr. Clark and I are asking that you would give us the most accurate and current phone number and email that we can reach you at if we were to have any scheduling questions. Students, moving next on your course form, you'll see that selections have already been made for you. Like I mentioned in the introduction, what we are teaching at Chaffin is the same at all the other middle schools. So every 7th grader will have English 7, there will be Math 7, Science, and Social Studies, and that is the same for all students. Some of you are aware because you've had siblings that have gone through Fort Smith schools. You've heard classmates that are here this year talk about pre-AP. You will have an opportunity to elect pre-AP classes when you go into the 8th grade. But in 7th grade, all students have the same core. These are what we call our core classes: English, Math, Science, and Social Studies. So that is 4 of our 7 classes that are already selected for you next year as a Chaffin Middle School student. So not a whole lot of choice yet, but you'll see as you look next on your course form, we are now going to look at a section called electives. Okay. And Mr. Clark, is this where you want to take over? Would you like me to keep going?
No, you want me to start with athletics and stuff?
Sure.
Okay, so the 4 core classes, English, Math, Science, Social Studies, those are going to be standard for all 7th grade students next year. But from here on out, this is where we need your input on what the rest of your schedule is going to look like. So we're going to start with athletics and PE. Every student in 7th grade has to have some sort of athletics or PE class. And we have a couple of different options here. So for students that are going to be participating in our football team, basketball team, volleyball, track, things like that, you will select the correct boys or girls athletics. Those are full year classes. Okay, so our athletic program are for both semesters. Now, if you are part of the cheer and drill team, you can select that as your only option. If that's the only athletic that you're going to do is the cheer or drill team, you can make that as your only selection if you want. If you're part of the cheer and drill team, I cannot talk this morning. If you are part of the cheer and drill team, but also are going to do athletics, you can select both of those if that's applicable to you. Now, if you are not part of the athletic program, you are still required to do a semester of PE. So if you're not going to do football, basketball, volleyball, any of those, then your selection will be the PE semester, and you're going to pair it with Career Connections. Now, if you're in athletics, you're not missing out on career connections. It's just going to come at a later point in just a minute. So every student has to select either athletics or the PE semester and career connections. And again, if you're part of the cheer and drill, you can make that your one selection. But if you're also going to be on a volleyball team or whatever, you can select both athletics and cheer if that's applicable to you.
So students in the classroom at this time, put your X next to which PE selection you would like. Again, if you're not playing a sport next year, then you must select PE semester and career connections.
Now, virtual students, the way that I've set this up, if you are cheer and drill, you can select 2 if that's applicable. So just know that can happen. On campus students, if you're a cheer and drill team member, you would put an X there. And if you're going to do athletics, you would put an X by both. Okay, so just let us know that. At this point, if you have questions, if you will just type them into the chat box, and as we go through it, we'll kind of address those. There will also be a time at the end. One thing I want to mention before we move on, and I'm going to switch to a different screen. If you're in athletics, if you're going to do athletics, just some date information. You have to have a physical to do athletics, and the district always offers a free physical. And that date to get a physical for free is on May 24th, and it will be at the Southside High School Tornado Shelter from 3:30 to 4:30. There's not any information or any paperwork that you have to fill out right now. You can hang on a sec, Bill. If you'll just show up on May 24th, your parent will fill out the necessary paperwork then. So if you want to be a part of that free physical, May 24th, 3:30 to 4:30. Of course, you can always do it through your primary care physician if that's easier for you. Virtual students, I'll send this in an email so that you have it as a reminder. On-campus students, we printed one for you. So everyone will have a copy of this. It might just be digital. If you're planning to be part of the football team, they did ask that you join the Remind app. And there's some information right there to get date information and practices, things like that. That is where they will communicate all of those things. So if you're going to be part of the football team, please join that reminder so that you can get the information.
Mr. Clark, Ms. James asked a great question.
Okay.
If you are choosing to participate in any athletic event, you are required to take athletics for the full year.
Yes.
What is intended for next school year is the students that are doing football will be doing football in the fall, and those students who try out and who sign up for basketball will be doing off-season basketball.
Yes.
Is that different from in the past? Yes, that is different because there are times that we had, students that only did athletics for part of the year or for part of their sport. But with us moving forward with the middle school scheduling, athletes will be in one class period, and that will be for all sports. So that's for those that run cross country and football, which are our fall activities. And then for basketball and track, which are our spring activities. And this is similar to the high school. When it's not time for your sport, you're in what's called off-season training. So this is where the middle schools are mirroring the high schools, that we still have all of our athletes in a class period, and they're doing off-season practice and training during that time. So that's a great question, Ms. James. Yes.
And then another one was about basketball tryouts. Basketball tryouts have not and will not be done this year. They will do those during the school year next year. So if you're not a football player, not a volleyball player, but you're wanting to do basketball, you're not going to miss a tryout. They're going to wait until next year, next school year to do those things. Generally, that happens after the season, but now because we have off season, They're probably going to try to do it earlier in the school year, just so they know who wants to be a part of the basketball team. But no, those tryouts have not happened yet and will not happen this school year.
So far, whether you're on your paper schedule form or you're a virtual student completing this online, you have your 4 core classes already selected for you, and you have made your PE selection. So we have 5 of your 7 class periods. Obviously, if you are a member of cheer and drill, and you are also going to do a Chaffin sport, then you actually have 6 of your 7 class periods selected. Okay, and that's a small number of you. So now we're going to go down to the next section, the career connections. And this is another required class. Career connections is a required class. I'll start here, Mr. Clark, and then let you pick up on, I'll just share about career connections. Career connections is a required class. Actually, next year in 6th grade, students will take a section of career connections. You have it in 7th grade and you have it in 8th grade. Career connections for you next year as a 7th grader will include your typing class, okay? Which we refer to it now as key coding, but it is where you will learn how to type appropriately. But in addition to that class, you will begin getting introduced more specifically to career clusters and to career information. Okay, so career connections is a required semester class for you. And in middle school and high school, 6th graders, a semester is half of the school year. So you'll see that you have 3 choices here. You might have chosen PE and career connections, and that has filled one of your class periods. Okay, now I'm gonna let Mr. Clark start here with the career connections and art for our athletes who have some choices here.
Yeah, so first off, if you selected the PE semester in career connections, you will not fill anything out in this next section. The only students that this next section applies to are the athletes that are in boys or girls athletics or the cheer and drill team. So if you selected PE semester / career connections, you will leave this part blank because you already have career connections. So for individuals in the boys and girls athletics or the cheer and drill team, we need to pair your career connections with something because like Ms. Macon said, career connections is a semester class. So we have to have another semester class to pair with it. So you have 3 options here. You can do career connections in Art 7, which is with Ms. Frost. To answer the question, no, you do not have to be a fantastic artist already to join art. I struggle to make a straight line, but as long as I'm willing to work hard, I could be very successful in Miss Frost's art class. She does a fantastic job at showing you different types of art, different modes of art. So all skill levels are encouraged to participate. Another option that you have is career connections and a semester of foreign language, which at this point we believe is an introduction to Spanish. My light went out, so there we go. So if that is something of interest to you, right now we believe it'll be an introduction to the Spanish language, unless we're told otherwise. And then your other option is a semester of career connections and pairing that with a semester of our STEM class. This is one that I'm excited about, being a former science teacher. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It's a brand new class for Chaffin. It's a brand new class for the district. It is a completely new curriculum that the district has decided to use. It's called Project Lead the Way. Just to kind of give you some background information on it, essentially at the beginning of the semester, you, the student, will be introduced to a problem, and throughout the semester in this class, you're going to be working towards solving this problem. You're going to be creating models, replicas, testing it out, trying it out, editing it. So it's very much a collaborative, hands-on based class where you're going to be using a lot of different science and math and things like that. So very exciting class. I'm excited to see kind of how it plays out. And this will be the first year that we've ever offered it. So you guys are getting a chance to do something completely new. So again, if you selected PE semester and career connections, you are leaving this part blank. But for those of you that selected boys athletics, girls athletics, or the cheer and drill team, you need to select one of these three options: career connections in art, career connections in foreign language, or career connections in STEM. Virtual students on this section, you can only select one, so you can't do multiples here. So that's pretty straightforward. On-campus students, you will just simply put an X by the one choice that you would like to participate in. All right, so from there, we're going to go to the rest of our electives to complete your schedule. And this is going to be different depending on what you've already selected and how many electives you have left. Okay, so it's kind of important that we're listening to the details. So everyone, no matter what you've picked so far, everyone's going to select one elective from the choices that we have left. Now, if you selected the PE career connection up above, so if you selected this one, you're actually going to select a total of 2 electives. So that's where it's kind of different. So everyone has to select one. If you selected the PE semester and career connections, you're actually going to get to select a total of 2 electives. Okay. So we're going to go through some of these, and we actually have a couple videos that have been created to let you see a little bit more about it. So the very first option is Introduction to Band. This is something we've offered forever. We have fantastic success with it, award-winning band program that I'm going to show you a video of in just a second. We also still have orchestra, full year, Introduction to Orchestra. Again, award-winning. We're very successful in all of our music programs, and that's because of our great participation, and we expect that to continue. We are still offering choir for both male and female students. GATE, which is our gifted and talented. If you qualify for that class, and some of you are in GATE now and wish to continue that, some of you might be testing for that at the end of this year. And then we have 3 combinations of semester classes, and these kind of get a little bit tricky. So our first combination is Art 7 and STEM. Again, I've talked about both of those before. Now, the thing about this is you cannot select this option if you selected Art or STEM to pair with career connections. So I'm going to scroll up just a second to show you what that means. If you selected career connections in art or career connections and STEM, you cannot select this as your elective. The reason for that is you cannot do art twice because it's the same class. So you can't repeat that, okay? The next combination is art and foreign language. Again, same rule applies here. If you selected art or foreign language on either of these 2 things, then you cannot select this one. Again, our understanding is this introduction to foreign language will be introduction to the Spanish language. Until we're told otherwise, that's what we're going with. And then our last pairing is foreign languages and STEM. Again, same rule applies. If you selected foreign language or STEM here, you cannot make this your elective selection, okay? So those are all of the electives. Again, everyone will select one. If you selected the PE and career connections, you will select 2. Now, but before we start answering questions or anything like that, a couple of the music directors created a couple of videos. So I want to show those first while you're kind of looking through these, and then we can answer. I see that the chat's popping off. So we'll get to questions right after that. So I want to show the first one we're going to do is orchestra. It's a short 1-minute video. Let me get to it. Miss Menkins, let me know if this music is not working correctly when I do this.
We're not on.
Why do bad things happen to good people?
Teachers, for you to know, we practiced this part
We
on
did.
Friday,
We
and
had a
our
meeting.
teachers all made fun of us that we were Zooming with each other from our offices. Hold on just a minute. Our band and orchestra people did a great job putting these together for scheduling.
It's gonna work this time. I have faith. Next up, I'm going to show you one from the band. Just a second. All righty.
Hi, I'm Mr. McKissick,
And I'm Mr. Palmer, and we're the band directors here at Chaffin.
and we are so excited to give you the opportunity to be a part of the band at Chaffin Middle School.
Band is a class where you
Which
learn how to
can
play an
have
instrument
very many
while
meanings. And the impetus of this work was to develop a fanfare.
I'm not sure
Based
why
on-
that's happening. Hang on just a second.
Hope and all these great thoughts for 2021.
Oh,
I think
There
it
we
may be them.
yep. Sorry, technical difficulties. You all are our first group, and that shows.
Excited to give you the opportunity. Hi, I'm Mr. McKissick,
And I'm Mr. Palmer, and we're the band directors here at Chaffin.
and we are so excited to give you the opportunity to be a part of the band at Chaffin Middle School.
Band is a class where you learn how to play an instrument while learning how to read music and being part of a great team with all of your friends.
There's no experience necessary. Next year will be the first year that we are offering band to both 6th and 7th grade.
Here are the instruments that you'll have to choose from. These are what we consider to be our core instruments for band. You have the flute, the clarinet, the trumpet, French horn, trombone, and percussion. In your handouts, you should have received a flyer that looks like this, and after you've signed up for band on your schedule, you'll want to follow this QR code to our Google form where you'll register with us for up-to-date information on band and future information on instrument testing and instrument placement as we get you ready for the fall. Our contact info is down at the bottom. You've got both of our email addresses, and you'll want to make sure that you like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram.
We know that when you join the band, you'll have lots of fun, you'll make lifelong memories, and you'll learn so much.
So be sure to put band on your schedule and be part of the band.
All right, well, that was fantastic. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to this. I want to show you a couple of things real quick. Mr. Palmer and Mr. McKissick had showed a flyer. On-campus students, you have that. Virtual students, I'm including a digital copy of this when I send out the links to the recording. So you're going to get that as well. That has the QR code on it and the social media information. I will also send out a flyer about orchestra. There's some dates and things on that, like if you want to get some free practice and more information on those things. So again, all of those handouts will go out to you whenever I upload this link to YouTube so that you can rewatch and things like that. So you're going to get all that information. And on-campus students, you should have hard copies in your hands already. So let me switch back to this. Ms. Bangans, if you want to say anything.
Sure. So as Mr. Clark switches back to our scheduling form, we are at the bottom section of your schedule. Mr. Clark has already reviewed with you in selecting Art 7 and STEM, who can make that pick. Same for Art 7 and Foreign Language and STEM. The only music activity, we watch the video for band and for orchestra. We do not have a recruiting video to share with you this morning for choir, but once that is made available, we will send that to all of you virtually, just as we did the Zoom information for today and virtual students, the course form, okay? But music is a very, very big activity at Chaffin. And if we had our typical 6th grade visit, students would have seen when we had our 6th grade visit that a large portion of Chaffin student body is involved in one of our music activities, is involved in a music activity, involved in GATE, involved in athletics, because we know and believe very strongly that being a part of an activity is very important to your success as a Chaffin student. There's something very powerful in being accountable to your band, to your section, to the choir, to the cross-country team. And so majority of every student at Chaffin is involved in one of these activities: athletics, band, orchestra, choir, as well as GATE, okay? Mr. Clark, I think just to help clarify here, be reminded, parents that are viewing in classroom, teachers, we only have 7 class periods a day at Chaffin now. In the past, you could be an athlete and also do 2 music activities. In the past, you could be an athlete and do GATE and a music activity. Unfortunately, because we only have 7 class periods, there are going to be some more difficult decisions being made, which is common in most schools in our area, in our state. If you are a student that chooses to do an athletic PE, you are taking one of your other class periods to have career connections with art, foreign language, or STEM, which does mean that you do not have the 2 free periods to choose GATE and band, or GATE and choir, or even to choose 2 music activities, because remember, we only have 7 class periods. So we're going to go back to the scheduling form and just review. This is where typically Mr. Clark and I would walk around in the classroom with the classroom teachers and kind of help check each student's course form. This is something, students, that you will do with your parents when you go home. But let's look. The very top of your course form, you have 4 classes already picked out for you: English, math, science, and social studies. Next, you have your PE selection. Are you choosing to do regular PE for a semester with Career Connection? Or if you're an athlete, then you are choosing athletics, okay? That would equal your 5th class period, all right? If you are a student who is involved in athletics, then your sixth choice must be, it's not an option. It must be career connections with art, career connections with foreign language, or career connections with STEM. So if you're a student athlete, I'm holding up 6 fingers because that career connection with another elective counts as your 6th class period. And this is again where Mr. Clark said, this is sometimes where we have to pay careful attention because this is where it's different for us in our remaining electives. If you're a student athlete and you have picked your career connections class, what you want it to be with, whether it's art, foreign language, or STEM, then you only have 1 elective remaining. And for some, yes, is that a somewhat challenging decision to make? Absolutely. If you are a student that's in regular PE, your 5th period was your PE and your career connection. So for you as a non-athlete, you actually get to choose 2 electives in this section of your course form. Okay. Now I do want to stress a few things here. For those of you that are interested in band and orchestra, it is very important that if you are interested in that, that is an experience that you seek in 7th grade, just as our athletics. You know, in 7th grade athletics, it's giving you an introduction and learning, like, am I skilled? Am I prepared? What athletic skills do I need to improve in to be a part of athletics through middle school and high school? Band 7 and orchestra 7 are the same. That is beginning band. Choir is more flexible. At any point during your 7th, 8th, 9th grade year, it's easier for you to transition from an instrument class into a choir class. In fact, as a previous choir director, I would say to students, I always welcome students who had conflicts with their schedule and they couldn't do band or orchestra anymore, and they wanted to join choir because they were very familiar with how to read music. So just know, if you are the least bit interested in band 7 and orchestra 7, what I want to encourage you students and parents that are viewing is have your students sign up for band or orchestra. Our band and orchestra people, just as Mr. McKissick and Mr. Palmer stressed, same with orchestra, they will be having instrument tryouts. That is hopefully something we will get to do this year before the school year begins. And it gives you a chance to make a connection, to see what instruments is speaking to you, as I have someone who says to me, and seek out that avenue before you discredit it. For those of you that are viewing, we've had some questions already about GATE. If your student is involved in athletics, then their 7th period might be GATE if you are wanting them to pursue the GATE seminar elective. I do want to stress here that GATE seminar, that elective class, does not continue through high school. Band, choir, and orchestra athletics, those are classes that continue through high school. GATE seminar concludes in 8th grade. So a student only gets to experience having the GATE elective period when they're in 7th grade and 8th grade. After that, our students that are in GATE, they are involved in pre-AP and AP and engineering and medical and all these other classes that you're going to learn about in 7th and 8th grade that are now being offered through our new career tech school. Okay. The last thing I want to say here, I had a separate message sent to me. The foreign language that is being offered in 7th grade is not a high school credited class. None of the classes that are offered in 7th grade would a student receive high school credit for. They are middle school courses. There is no high school credit. Okay. And to conclude, so if you're a student who's using the paper schedule, by the end of our time, and your classroom teachers will assist with this since we are not there with you today, by the end of your selections, you should have 7 class periods total. And I want you to note at the very bottom of the form a very important note. It says, I have discussed my student's schedule and approved these course requests. I understand that after May 14th, this schedule will be considered final. And so students, your schedule will only be accepted as complete with your parent signature. And your homeroom teachers, they've done this a long time, and I can assure you they will be posting messages on Schoology and Dojo and through email, letting your parents know that your schedule is due back by May 14th. Today is when our current seventh graders turned in their schedule. And I'm going to tell you what students, they took their forms home the night that Mr. Clark and I met with them. They got their schedule signed and they had them turned in the very next school day. And so students, I challenge you, take this home. Your teachers have made your parents aware that we were meeting with you today. We will be sharing this Zoom so that you can watch this again with your parents tonight. But I encourage you tomorrow to bring in your course form. But know that after May 14th, what you have asked for is what you will have on your schedule at open house. So I'm going to say that again. What you asked for is what you will be scheduled for. And that's what will be on your schedule at open house. Now, when we come to open house in August, Mr. Clark and I will talk with you at that time about if you made a change and maybe whether you wanted to do an athletic, you decided you wanted to go into a sport, you decided you did want to do football, then we will change that on your schedule. If you decided that you went to the orchestra camp this summer and you decided that wasn't for you, you want to do band 7 instead, we will change that for you on your schedule. But we will announce that after school begins. Okay. So what you turn in on this course form, we want you to think about and to talk with your parents about, because it is what you will start the school year with until we have the opportunity to make schedule changes. Now, unfortunately, with our visiting with you this way, there's a very important part of Chaffin that you're missing the opportunity to see, and that is all of our school activities. It is our hope that maybe before the end of the school year that we will get to have some kind of a parent-student night where you are more familiar with activities. I know a big question that students have coming to Chaffin is Quiz Bowl. Can anyone try out for that? The answer is yes. You do not have to be just a GATE student to try out for the Quiz Bowl team at Chaffin. And we will announce those tryouts once school begins next school year. The same for robotics. Anyone can sign up to be a part of the robotics team at Chaffin. We also have activities like Tinker Tuesday, our student council, the student mentor team, various clubs that we are hoping will be back in normal working function next school year. And those are all activities that you will learn a lot of information about at our open house. Okay. So what we're discussing with you today and what we've reviewed are the classes that you get to choose next year as a Chaffin student. Okay. And I'll pause right here. Mr. Clark, I noticed when I started talking, you were going over our chat questions. Is there anything you'd like to say out?
A couple of things. When will you be notified of GATE? Miss Wilborn is going to really hit that process next week after our testing is over, ACT Aspire testing. She is going to be working on that as quickly as possible. We don't have a date that we can give you. I can just tell you it'll be as quickly as possible. She wants to get that done, but she does have to do a lot of testing. So just be patient with that. As soon as we know something, you will know something. If you're going to be virtual next year, yes, please do this schedule, because we are responsible for making your schedule, even if you're a virtual student next year. So please complete this so that we know what classes you are interested in taking. If there are big changes to the virtual, peak virtual, we'll contact you about what classes have changed and where we want to go from there. But even if you're going to be virtual next year, please complete this form so that we have it. I think those were the only two that you didn't address. Virtual students, this form is, you can edit it until May 14th. You have the same amount of time as the on-campus student. After May 14th, we will record your options that you have selected, and we will begin the scheduling process. So same deadline of May 14th. If you submit one today, virtual students and parents, you can go back in and edit until the 14th, and then after that I will lock it. So just to give you a heads up on that date as well.
I think the last thing, Mr. Clark, that was mentioned was a band question. My understanding from talking with Mr. Palmer and Mr. McKissick is that when you actually scan this QR code and you join this group, what students and parents receive at band tryouts is actually provided there. So there was a question about the instruments that were shown in the video. My understanding is when we do our band instrument tryouts, it will be a similar process as what we've done in the past. You might have noticed in the video, it mentioned that specific students were selected for like French horn, for example, some of those specialty instruments, but more of that information can be found through the band director site. So that was a great question. Parents in the virtual information that Mr. Clark sent to the homeroom teachers as well as virtually, Mr. Clark and I's email is accessible there. We are very prompt in responding to parent emails. I will tell you tomorrow and Wednesday, we are in ACT testing. So our response time is a little slow during test days. But after testing concludes on Wednesday, our full focus is on getting all of our Chaffin students scheduled. This process is going on for you as well as for the 5th graders in our elementary schools, as well as our current 7th graders at Chaffin, that we're trying to get everyone scheduled before the conclusion of the year. So any particular questions you have, please don't hesitate to reach out to us via email, and we will answer you as best as possible. I'd also like to just urge you, if you have not already, please be sure to follow the Chaffin. For right now, it's still the Chaffin Junior High Facebook page. We try to, anything that is provided to us from our athletics, the music people, announcements in general are posted there. And I would make sure to follow that page. I know that most of you follow the district webpage, but please also follow the Chaffin Facebook page. Schoology has been a new experience for you all this year. I'm going to say this to parents that are participating. We, as the school counselors, we actually have a counselor group. And so like the information for our 7th graders have used for scheduling, we posted that on our 7th grade counselor Schoology page. So our teachers, every classroom teacher uses their Schoology as well as tools like Remind to share information. And we do the same in the counselor's office to get out information to the entire building. So to conclude here, again, just to reiterate, we have a 7 class period day. 4 of your classes were already selected for you, your core classes. You make your PE or athletic selection. Yes, all students at Chaffin are enrolled in Career Connections. That's a required class for our entire school district for all 7th graders, as well as in the state of Arkansas, because that's typing, okay? And then you have your elective periods from there. If you are a student involved in athletics, then you are choosing one final elective period. If you are a student that's in regular PE and Career Connections, then you are choosing 2 elective periods. And parents, just one kind of going back to the gate testing, you may want on your student scheduling, if they're on site, you can note that on the bottom of their scheduling form. If you want to go ahead and mark what electives you'd like them to have, and then make note about gate. We always contact our gate students if in making gate, just to say to the parent, what elective would you like us to change? Okay. But again, you have until May 14th to make your selections. Woods Patriots, we are very excited to have you here at Chaffin next year. You will have a transition day in which you will come to Chaffin. You won't come the same day as your 5th grade friends. We will have a transition day just for 7th graders, where you will get to come and meet your teachers, learn how to read and follow your schedule. You'll learn all about the clubs and activities. We will also have our traditional open house, where your parents will have the opportunity to come as well, to meet with our administration, to meet with teachers, and to learn about all of our activities that we will have moving forward into our middle schools. So thank you again, everyone. I think, Mr. Clark, I didn't see any other questions pop up. Did you?
No, Ms. Chrisley, I did send you an email or a message individually, just so we can talk about that in more depth.
Woods teachers, thank you for sharing your classroom time with us this morning. And if your students have questions that come up throughout the day, please don't hesitate to email us and we'll reach you. Parents, thank you so much for participating today. And Mr. Clark will send out this recording virtually as well.
Yep, I will. I'm going to upload it to YouTube. On-campus teachers, I will. I'll send that link to you, Ms. Massey. If you're on here, I'll send everything to you so that we can get it out to virtual students as well as PDF forms for those electives and things like that. Just like Ms. Mankin said, if you have any questions about scheduling or anything like that as you start looking at this in more depth, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are still ACT Aspire testing this week, so email is the best way. Ms. Megan and I play a part in helping facilitate all of that, so it's very unlikely if you call us that we'll be able to answer right off the bat, but we'll be able to email back and forth much easier. So any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're very excited to get this process going and start working with your students.
All right. Hey, students, I want to make a plug. Athletics, music programs. 7th grade is the time to experiment and to see what your interests are. So I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you to consider those elective options. You will always have access in 8th grade to doing art and to doing STEM and also to doing Spanish in 8th grade. But 7th grade is a very, very important time to experiment with your gifts and your talents and to see what areas you want to explore as you move into 8th grade and then as you leave to go to the high school campus. So just a final plug again for really, really giving serious consideration to participating in those activities. Thank you again, everyone. We appreciate your time. All right, Mr. Clark.
Yeah, I'm going to stop the recording. And then I'll hang on here for another minute or two.